So you've been in a car accident in California and you're wondering how much is my case worth? That's one of the more common questions I get as a personal injury attorney that's been in practice for over 25 years. And there's no set formula on the value of car accident claim in California, but there are certain factors that you can look at which definitely affect how insurance companies put values on claims. The first factor is usually the medical expenses. Obviously, if you've got what we call euphemistically a soft tissue case and you just have some basic therapy over a few months and you're able to heal, that case would have one value. A case where you end up having to have surgery or long-term rehab would have a completely different value. I can think of a recent case where my client was severely injured in a auto trucking accident, and the doctors were of the opinion that he needed a spinal fusion surgery. He was reluctant to get that initially, and we were never going to press people to force them to have surgery if they don't want it, but we submitted the claim initially and got a fairly low six-figure offer on it. Ultimately, he decided that it was in his best interest, being that you only get one shot at these things, to go ahead and get the surgery done. Once the surgery was completed, we were able to sell the case for $2 million. So that kind of shows you what effect a surgery can have on the value of the claim. So medical expenses are definitely one aspect of valuing a claim. Another aspect would be lost income and future earning capacity. The case recently we had where a client had a fairly severe back injury, was in the construction business, had done construction his whole life, no longer able to do construction, is an example of how a loss in future earning capacity can affect the case. And that case again was a multiple $1-million settlement for us. So you have to determine how much lost income you have from the date of the accident all the way through when you're able to either return to work, or if you're not able to return to work, you've got to be able to put a value on the loss of future earning capacity. Pain and suffering is one of the biggest components, if not the biggest component, of the value of any case. As the California jury instructions state, there's no set formula for determining the amount of pain and suffering, but it's not only the physical pain, but the emotional distress and also the disruption that accident and injury has on your ability to conduct your day-to-day affairs, both at home and at work, that have an economic value that an attorney can put on it. Obviously, we're going to try to place a value as high as possible. So that's one of the things is a major factor in any award, is what we call non-economic damages, loss of enjoyment of life, psychological effects of the accident, etc. One factor is the liability and the strength of the evidence on liability. That can affect the value of the case. Obviously, if there's disputed liability, the insurance company may dig in their heels and try to fight it longer than if the facts are such that they concede liability right off the bat. Property damage is also not the biggest component of damages, but also something that you should be aware that you're entitled to obviously be compensated on your vehicle. The standard in California is that you're entitled to the lesser of the cost of repair or fair market value on the vehicle. So if it's a total loss and the fair market value is in excess of the cost of repair, then you would get fair market value. And an attorney can help you determine if the insurance company is being fair with you on how they arrive at fair market value on your vehicle. Insurance company tactics, obviously, to try to pay as low as possible. I've seen many cases where insurance companies approach accident victims early on and make a lowball offer, such as, oh, we'll pay your medical expenses and we'll give you $500 in addition to that on pain and suffering. Those offers are completely ridiculous, and you should definitely, again, only get one bite at the apple on settling your case, and you should never settle a case unless you are 100% sure that you have received all the medical treatment necessary to get back to as close to 100% as possible. You know what the total value of all the medical expenses are, the total value of any future medical expenses, and you can therefore determine what would be a good value for pain and suffering. Only then that you should ever present an offer to try to settle the car accident case in California. Obviously, an attorney is the best person to help you maneuver that process and get the highest value possible. Venue and jury tendencies kind of factor in if you are in a conservative jurisdiction, which not a lot of, but there are a few in California that tend to award less money than other areas. Insurance companies look at that. All these factors kind of give you a reasonable range from probably on the low end $8,000 to $12,000 upwards of multi-millions of dollars, just depending upon your particular case, the amount of suffering that you've been through, the amount of medical expenses that you've incurred, the amount of lost income that you've had, and all that is determinative of what your value is. So the best person obviously try to give you a good analysis on case value is as an experienced personal injury attorney. We've been doing this for over 25 years, have taken cases to trial, and know what juries award. We keep our finger on the pulse of jury verdicts that are coming out, and we know how to deal with insurance companies. So if you're ever in a car accident in California and you need help and you'd like to determine what the value of your particular case is, then give us a call at 866-966-5240 or visit us on the web at victimslawyer.com.